What's up, guys? It's Mikey K with MMB. Don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell so you know when all of our new videos come out. We release on Wednesdays and Sundays, but this is going to be one of our more entrepreneurial videos. So we were hanging out with Ben from the Smoking Hot Confessionals. If you don't know who he is, he does a barbecue podcast from Australia. Yeah, it's crazy. We flew him from Australia just for this 10-minute video. That's not true.
We're just rolling in those podcast dollar bills.
Exactly. So
literally, they're like $1 bills.
Just singles. That's all it is. We are here at NBBQA, which is such an amazing event. We are just it's a lot of fun to be here, being able to meet people from half across the world. But you do something different with your podcast than what we do. Our podcast comes out weekly. The way that we do our podcast is that it's a pre-recorded podcast that comes out every Thursday, and we talk to different guests from around the world. Yours is a little different. You talk to guests from kind of around the world, because I know we've been on it.
Yep.
But you're more of a season base, and you also kind of have a theme for each season.
That's right. Yeah. So when I was first researching doing podcasts, I was looking at all the different types of podcasts that are out there, and there's not just different themes. You know, you've got your true crime, you've got your entrepreneurial, you've got your barbecue podcast. You've then got different styles of podcasts within that genre or that theme. And so I was looking at it and I was like, well, do I want to do like a weekly barbecue catch up? Well, you guys are already doing that. Okay, what is something like, how can I take this concept, this idea, and put my own unique spin on it? And something that Smoking Hot Confessions has always been about teaching, learning, and sharing, all about barbecue. I'm an educator by profession, that's my background. And so naturally my brain tends to think in start and finish points. So what do I want someone to learn? I want them to start here and finish here. And so I went, well, I'm going to use my strengths I already have. I'm going to bring my skills that I've already got into this. And I'm going to plan my podcast in seasons. So I'm actually, this NBBQA trip is going to be recording season 6.
Awesome.
Season 1 was 10 episodes all about competition barbecue. So I started with an interview with one of the founders of the Australasian Barbecue Alliance, and then I did an interview with a butcher, and then with a smoker manufacturer, and then a couple of competition teams, and a branding guy, a sponsorship expert, and just sort of laid out 10 lessons like that. And then season 2, which was when I had you on board, I explored the different worlds of barbecue business. So that was 15 episodes focusing on 15 different business models within the wider world of barbecue.
Which is crazy considering since that episode, I mean, I've now opened up a catering company. We do a lot of stuff with that. We do barbecue pop-ups, which are insane.
Yeah.
But we've done a lot since then. We've grown in this business and just really trying to make barbecue full time, and it's just insane. And I've said in my past videos, follow your dreams and do what you need to do. Keep going. And I think what you're doing with your podcast is really giving people a great source of information to start from. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to learn how to run a full barbecue business in an hour.
No.
Which is never going to happen.
No.
But it's a fantastic jump off point, right? And it might give you ideas, or I know it definitely does because I've listened to the podcast, but it gives you ideas that maybe I wasn't thinking of, or stuff that I was like, oh shit, I didn't think about that, which is why I love our guests, because our guests tell me so much stuff that I'm like, I didn't even think about this issue or this problem that I may have.
Exactly, yeah. And even more than that, it's about inspiring the listeners as well. So, I mean, you just said yourself that, you're not going to learn how to build a barbecue business in an hour. And well, that's because you can't get a guest on your show and distill 25 years of experience into 1 hour and then just plug it straight into the
heavens,
into the brain like the Matrix. we can't do that. But as you said, if we can highlight some points that they might not have otherwise thought of, or if we can inspire these people that are sort of sitting on the fence and they're going to their 9 to 5 and they're dragging themselves out of bed every day and they're like, this is not what I want to do, but if we can inspire them to really take that jump and get into that business or, you know, whatever it is, that's what it's all about.
So I gotta ask this question. Have you ever, like with SmokingHotConfessions.com, do you ever get people being like, wait, I thought this was something different? I just gotta ask.
Actually, you know what? Yes. we bought a house a few years ago, and the real estate agent was selling our old house and selling us the new one as well. He did very well out of us that deal. And I handed him one of my business cards because I said, look, if you can get us X number of dollars for the old house, I will cook brisket and pulled pork for you. And so I gave him the card, and he sat it in his car, and he finished his day's work, and he went and he picked up his girlfriend. And she picked up the card, and she's like, smoking hot. What the hell is this? And so then he had to explain it all.
He had to break it down for her and like, listen, honey, no, it's not what you think it is.
Yeah. But if you look at my Google Analytics, there's a lot of very short visits.
Very short visits where they're, yeah, not that one.
Yeah.
Didn't think of that one.
No, I'm looking for meat, not that kind of meat. Yeah,
so your next season is going to be on NBBQA.
So I've got
a trip here.
Yeah, I've got 2 seasons kind of running at the moment. So in terms of the business side of things, the entrepreneurial side of things, I'm basically kind of moving now into a barbecue media content creation kind of business model. And so I'm now being flown around to different barbecue festivals around Australia.
Awesome.
And so what I do is I take my, much like your rig here that we're working on now,
yeah.
I've got something similar to that, and I run around and I do little short 3 to 5 minute interviews.
Awesome.
Release them individually, and then release all the audio out of all of them together in a podcast episode featuring the festival.
Okay.
So I'm dual purposing the content.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing part of that. So I've got 1 season running at the moment, which is the 2019 festival season. So that won't end until the end of the year.
Okay.
And then during that time, I'll be releasing season 6, which is going to be a series of recordings from this 4-week trip around the States.
So now, as you're releasing seasons like that, how do you see that being either more beneficial, or do you feel, obviously you feel it's more beneficial for what you're doing because it helps your time and your effort in making your life easier, but how do you see the audience grow? Do you see it in spikes when the seasons start to get released? That's when you kind of see that audience kind of come back. I know for us, and we're just gonna be honest here, right? We see those spikes as we release those episodes. You know what I mean? And we see the downloads go crazy, and it's almost like an adrenaline.
It is.
It's kind of fun when you're like, oh shit, is it gonna happen or not?
You find yourself like looking back at the stats every 20 minutes. You're like, yes.
Yeah, and you're like, cool, that happened. And it's always fun for us when we get a guest on the show and they're like, what are the stats? Well, so for podcasts, are definitely, you get it. It's almost like on a 24-hour delay.
Yeah,
it does take a minute for us to get our real numbers back.
It's not instantaneous.
It's not instantaneous at all. And the hard thing for some people to understand is if you listen to a podcast and you have a half an hour drive to work, they may listen to it for half an hour, stop that podcast, and then come back to it on the ride home.
Yeah.
Or the next day, or whatever. So sometimes the numbers are hard to quite grasp. The podcast numbers are still very, I think, difficult to grasp. They're not where they quite need to be.
No, and in the same way as your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube, all that sort of stuff, they are constantly changing the algorithms and the methods of counting those downloads.
Yes.
So
which is insane.
But then don't tell anybody. So I don't know about you, but I've had phases where I've been tracking these enormous download numbers, and then
it just whacks off.
It just gets cut, and it's like, what the hell happened? And you get on the forums, you contact your podcast host, and they're like, oh yeah, we've changed the way that we calculate things.
So I don't know if you guys are watching this and you saw it. It was almost probably 6 or 7 months ago. We had a problem where our host stopped communicating with iTunes.
Oh, wow.
But iTunes was telling us that it was the host was telling us that it was iTunes. So we were going back and forth trying to figure it out.
Yeah, right.
And iTunes is a big part of our download, right? So if you're not around, we just saw like this huge plummet.
Yeah.
And it was like for those couple weeks, and then it finally started bouncing back up once we got those podcasts back up.
Yeah.
But it's one of the biggest nightmares.
Well, I was actually reading somewhere that 85% of all podcast data comes from Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Because so many
And they
these,
control so much of it.
So many of these other apps, like Pod Addict or all those sorts of things, they farm from Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
So you're not actually hosting it on Podcast Addict. Podcast Addict is sourcing all the data from Apple and pulling it across.
Yeah.
So if you don't have Apple playing with you, you're not going far.
If you're not in their good graces.
Yeah.
But the hard thing is like you're trying, for us, we were trying to communicate with them, and they're telling us, well, it's not our fault, it's their fault. And then you got the other side of the thing where it's like, well, it's not our fault, it's their fault.
Yeah.
So it's a hard one. But I guess back to my original question, this is so much like our podcast. We just go up and
down the rabbit hole.
Exactly. When you decided to do the seasons, what do you feel like is more beneficial? It is more beneficial. Why do you feel like the seasons were more beneficial for you?
When anybody's trying to be entrepreneurial and build their own sort of dream business, whatever it is, you've got to envision it the way that you want it to be, and you've got to be able to harness your own strengths. And for me, I am an educator. I plan curriculums, I plan syllabi, I do all that sort of stuff. And so if I'm going to do this using my strengths, that's the way that I've got to run it. And so I think
you kind of get your whole thought together too, right?
It means that I can plan a consistent theme across 10 or 15 episodes, and so you can tune into that and you can listen to that series and get all those different lessons. It also lets me communicate with my guests, because my guests know who I am and how I operate. And I can say to them, look, segment 1 is going to be about you and your business and your history. Segment 2 is this lesson I want the listeners to get, and so we're going to deep dive into that information.
Yeah, working with you was fantastic. I mean, it was super easy. It was a big pleasure. It really was.
Yeah. Speaking of which, cheers to you, because you talked to us about Instagram. You just clicked over 100,000 followers on Instagram.
We did. We clicked
How
over 100,000
awesome is
followers.
that?
So any of you YouTube people that aren't following us on Instagram, go follow us on Instagram. It's MMB Smoking Hot Confessions on Instagram. Apparently, when you tag him in your story, his name's damn too long.
Yeah.
It drops the ON.
I did see that when you.
And I couldn't get it to stop.
Yeah. I don't know what happened there.
I made it longer. No. Sitting there playing with it didn't work. But yeah, I mean I think it's insane. We hit 100,000 followers. Instagram's a weird beast, which I'm gonna do a video on Instagram later of why it's such a weird beast of all the social medias ever since they gotten purchased by Facebook. They've done a lot of
behind the scenes tweaking.
Yeah, a lot of behind the scenes tweaking.
Yep. I don't know about you, but I find for me, Instagram tends to give me superficial interaction. So people will scroll and like.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if I want to get comments and have conversations and really engage with the people, for me it's Facebook. Do you find that?
Facebook works really well. People interact very well on Facebook. They share more on Facebook. I've been actually finding YouTube working really well.
Okay.
YouTube's been for how long we've been on it, it's been working really well.
Oh, awesome.
People are liking it, and I'm getting great feedback from people that actually give a shit, which is, that's the best part. And when you get nice long emails from people being like, hey, I actually care, thank you, can you help me with this or help me with that?
Yeah.
Those are fantastic. I love all those emails.
Yeah. That is for me, that's the highlight, is when you do get that feedback. I had one comment come through from a listener from Western Australia telling me, just basically saying thank you for putting this show together. It's allowed me and my 9-year-old daughter to bond over barbecue, and we listen to it together.
That's awesome.
So for me, that just blew my mind.
Well, man, I want to say thank you for coming on our YouTube channel. You have your own YouTube channel, right?
I do.
Tell us all your social medias so people can find you. Start looking for the podcast. Obviously, the podcast is on iTunes. It's on all those lovely
Podcast is everywhere, yeah.
all those lovely things. So just let us know where they can find you again.
Alrighty, so if you want to tune in and listen to the podcast, as I said, it's on Apple Podcasts. We're also on Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify. You know, I mean, you'll find us pretty much anywhere. Social media, we're Smoking Hot Confessions on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And on Twitter, the name was too long, so I had to go with Barbecue Confessions on Twitter.
I'm surprised you got Barbecue Confessions on Twitter.
Well, there's a guy who's Barbecue Confessions on Instagram who probably wants to buy that name from me. I'll just if I can find him here, we can work something out.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, we put out new videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays. I'm Mikey with Man Meat Barbecue. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Hit that bell so that you get all of our notifications on this channel. Also, make sure that you comment. Tell us how we're doing, what stuff you want to see, and all that. So, till next time, peace.